right, so our second group is of candidates includes Republican Judy Cutright and Democrat Juan Chuy Hinojosa. Candidates, yes, you're both unmuted and your video is on. So we're going to do this alphabetically. I'm getting feedback. Why? Okay. Let's begin with an opening statement from Ms. Cutright. 2 minutes.
All right. I have a question. If it goes over a little, do you just cut it off, or?
You have, yeah. Can you show you'll have a minute.
I'll let you know how much time you have left.
A minute, 30 seconds, then stop, and you can finish your sentence, and then we'll cut off at that.
At 2 minutes, you cut off, right? Okay. Very good. All right. Well, I'm Judy Cutright, your Republican candidate for State Senate District 20. And I just want to thank viewers and the League of Women Voters for your proactive interest in putting this together so that we can have better informed voters. As you know, this is an historic year because we are celebrating the 100th anniversary of the ratification of women getting the right to vote, the 19th Amendment. And because of these courageous women who were very determined, suffragettes, I can be with you today seeking this candidacy. And I look very much forward to paying it forward as well. So a little bit about me. I have my parents instilled in me some very cherished values of family, faith, and freedom. And also that it is our civic duty to pay forward as well as giving back to the community. And so that's what I intend to do. They also taught me that it's our civic duty to work and make the world a better place, better than as we found it. So because of their sacrifices, I am the first generation college graduate from Indiana University, BA with honors, and I also got a master's degree from George Washington University Political Management Department. I have a very diverse business background as well as communications expertise, and been a very active volunteer in the community. 25 years ago, I formed my own company, and I'm an award-winning entrepreneur. I have assisted global corporations, higher education institutions, and nonprofits. I will bring a business perspective to state government, and I will instill best business practices and common sense policies. I am pro-business, pro-law enforcement, pro-family, and pro-life. And I pledge to you that I will do all in my power to represent you and also keep an open communications with you, which I think is very key to understand your needs and aspirations. And
hello? There's no sound.
Oh, I need, am I muted?
Is there a slash through this?
No?
there was no sound for mine?
Nope, we heard.
Now there is.
Now there is. Okay, 2 minutes, please.
Okay.
Well, thank you.
Should I do it again?
I know all this high-tech stuff sometimes doesn't come through as the way it should. But my name is Juan Chuy Hinojosa. I am your state senator for District 20. I was born and raised in the Rio Grande Valley. I lived in Corpus Christi for a year after I graduated from Georgetown Law School because I wanted to make Corpus Christi my hometown. Unfortunately, my father got sick with cancer, so I had to move back to the valley. But let me just start by saying that about last session. Last session was a very successful session, one of the best we ever had in the state of Texas, that we focused on education. What we did, we increased funding for public education. by $11.5 billion and focus on the need of the students and not on the wealth of a school district. In addition to that, we provided school teachers a pay raise, anywhere from $2,000 to $4,000. And we also took care of our retired teachers. We provided a 13 check up to $2,000 to help with their expenses. But also we provided health care. We provided $500 million to make sure that we kept premiums at the same level. There was no increase. But we also invested over $1 billion in the retirement system to make sure it was actually sound, so there will be no danger in our retirement system not providing the benefits to the retired teachers that need it. But another key aspect of what we did last session, we also focused on the students. We increased the per capita funding from $5,160 to $6,180, a $1,000 increase per student to the whole state of Texas. At the same time, we focus on the needs for Corpus Christi and Oasis County. We increased the funding for Del Mar College to provide extra training for people that needed to learn jobs, skill jobs, to get a job.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Hinojosa. All right, let's move on to the question portion of this, this round. You will each have 1 minute to answer a question. And Ms. Cutright, if we can get your video back on, that would be super. There we go. Okay. And go ahead and unmute yourself. Okay, there we go. All right. So we're going to do this alphabetically. We'll alternate question who gets to answer first. So we'll start with Ms. Cutright. You'll both be answering the same question. So, during the uncertain times of the COVID-19 pandemic, what specific changes, if any, should be made to public school financing to provide for equitable and safe environments, both physical and virtual, for Texas schools?
It's a great need in order for us to beef up our system and make sure that the schools are well suited. I think one thing that's happened with COVID-19 is that it has made us more innovative and more able to adapt to change, which is very good. But I know a lot of teachers have been having problems in dealing with virtual, the virtual teaching aspect of it. One thing that really needs to be done is to expand our broadband technologies, especially for certain areas and certain school systems. And as well as, I know a lot of young people have had a hard time. They don't have the computers and the educational tools they need at home. So I think that's one thing that we really need to look into here in South Texas. Also, there's a lot of working families, and we need, as they've done in other communities in Texas, to set up pods so that those children whose parents have to work have somewhere to go, and they will get instruction, and there will be a teacher there, a teacher's assistant to help them with their.
Thank you very much, Ms. Cutright. Mr. Hinojosa, same question. During the uncertain times of the COVID-19 pandemic, what specific changes, if any, should be made to public school financing to provide for equitable and safe environments, both physical and virtual, for Texas schools?
Well, first of all, last session, we appropriated $300 million to focus on public safety. Out of that, we put $100 million for mental health services to our students, to focus on those students who had issues in terms of emotional problems, in terms of they were suicidal, they could hurt themselves. Now what we have learned from this pandemic is that we have many challenges that we have to address. One, we have to expand our broadband. We're finding out that there are many regions of the state of Texas that don't have the broadband that's necessary to teach our students from long distance learning. Number two, quite frankly, we have never faced a pandemic like this in our lifetimes. So we now have found out that we have a lot of issues and problems in terms of our healthcare system that impacts our public school systems throughout the state. So we, as a state, are now focusing on trying to provide the proper equipment to all our teachers and training so they can also be able to teach our kids through our computerized and broadband systems that are actually working. We've also
Okay, all right, and let's unmute Mr. Hinojosa also, because he'll be answering first. Mr. Hinojosa, can you unmute yourself?
okay.
There we go. Okay, because you're answering first this time. So here's your question. For some time, Texas has led the nation in the rate of uninsured citizens. This situation has been compounded substantially by the COVID-19 pandemic. Many in District 20 have lost their employer-provided insurance for physical and mental health. What, if any, measures would you take to address this crisis?
Number one, I would expand Medicaid, the Affordable Care Act. Is very important. We are leaving over $90 billion on the table because we will not expand Medicaid. To me, healthcare is a necessity. It's not a luxury. So we have to do that in order to be able to provide coverage to many of our residents and citizens that cannot afford it because they either lost their jobs, because they're uninsured, they cannot afford to pay the high rates of insurance. So my first approach to that would be just expand our Medicaid that we have in place.
Okay. Any others? We'll go on from there. Ms. Cutright, go ahead and unmute yourself. And I'll read the question one more time. For some time, Texas has led the nation in the rate of uninsured citizens. This situation has been compounded substantially by the COVID-19 pandemic. Many in District 20 have lost their employer-provided insurance for physical and mental health care. What, if any, measures would you take to address this crisis?
Every single citizen deserves affordable health care. I think what we need to also do is to incentivize health insurance companies to be more competitive throughout the state and across state lines. And I think that's going to be very helpful in the process. I think the state needs to take a more active role in providing health care to its citizens as well. And we have a rainy day fund which we can call upon for those in need. But I really think the key is competitive advantages that we offer in the field of health care and medical insurance. So that's the route I would go. And I also think that a lot of what was said about the progress that's been made in the 86th legislature is also to the fact that we have a Republican trifecta. So it's good to see all of, when it comes to the progress we've made in our school systems, that those have been because of the Republican leadership. And I think if the more we have that, the better off we are going to be.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for your answer, Ms. Cutright. Okay, and we'll have to unmute you one more time because you do get to go first for this question. All right. The League of Women Voters supports online voter registration and universal ballot by mail. What policies, if any, do you support to improve voter participation and to ensure secure elections in Texas?
First of all, I think it's very important that we educate our voters. That's number one. I really believe in requiring civics education, because if you don't have informed voters and you don't engage them, then they're not going to vote. But it's really critical that they understand the process and why it's so important to vote. So I would really, that's one of my passions in this upcoming legislature, that we really push for civics education. I am for opening up and encouraging voter registration and encouraging people to vote, but until we work out all the kinks, I think we have to be very careful about mail-in voting. And we need to make sure that every vote counts and is meant to count. So we need to do a little bit more work in that area to create a more efficient system. But I really think it's so important that when you look at the statistics, those.
Thank you very much for your answer, Ms. Cutright. Mr. Hinojosa, same question. The League of Women Voters supports online voter registration and universal ballot by mail. What policies, if any, do you support to improve voter participation and to ensure secure elections in Texas?
I actually am vice chair of finance. We put together a budget of $254 billion. And in that budget, we always try to support ways to educate our voters about different candidates. But here's what the problem is. We have voter suppression, where we try to discourage, or some members or some of the public leaderships, they try to suppress the vote because they're afraid of people voting. Number two, I do support voting by mail, especially during this pandemic. There's nothing wrong with trying to vote by mail. I would expand it. The third problem and issue is the politicization of voter fraud. Voter fraud is minimal, not only in our state, but throughout the nation. But politicizes so much that people cannot talk about it in base of merit. Voting is a constitutional right that we have as American citizens, and we should exercise that. I have no problems expanding voting by mail to make sure that everybody gets a chance, especially those who are over 65 and those who may be sick and those who may be afraid of the pandemic.
Thank you, Mr. Hinojosa. We appreciate your input. Okay, and now we'll move on to concluding statements. Mr. Hinojosa, please unmute yourself again for your concluding statement. 1 minute.
Well, I'm vice chair of finance and vice chair of redistricting. I'm one of the key senators. I've been named one of the top 3 legislators of Texas Monthly 3 times. Top 10 legislators. I've been named one of the top 10 legislators by Capital Insight. I work very closely with our team, the delegation in Corpus Christi and Nueces County, with our Chairman Todd Hunter, Chairman Abel Herrero, and Senator Colquist. I don't take a partisan approach to problems and responsibilities and issues. I take a public policy approach. I look at the issues and make the best decisions that impact and provide support to our public. And advances the quality of life for all our families. I treat everybody with dignity and respect, and I do not approach my politics on a partisan issue by being a Republican or Democrat. I just want to make sure that we do the right thing for the public.
Thank you very much. We appreciate that. Ms. Cutright, your closing statement, 1 minute.
Let's cut right to the chase. I too had said that this isn't about me, it's about our campaign and our cause. And I will uphold our constitutional principles and our cherished family values. And I would ask, don't you deserve to be able to pursue the American dream, to have affordable health care and affordable housing? Don't your children deserve an excellent education and their opportunity to pursue the American dream? And I think by instituting more and building on what the legislature's done, but instituting more best business practices at the state level and common sense policies, that we can make a lot of progress. I also think you need a powerful voice for South Texas. I think too often we are ignored and we don't get our fair share. And I will be that powerful voice for you. And I promise I will keep open communications with you, and I think that it's very important to do so, and I value your opinion. So I would appreciate you go.
Thank you very much, Ms. Cutright. Okay, thank you candidates for Texas State Senate District 20 for participating in this forum. We really appreciate your input and the time that you took tonight. Warm regards, best wishes, good night.
Good night.